All right. So it seems to me, good morning, that everybody, if they thought they could make a difference, would be interested in kind of being part of the solution around addiction, alcoholism. You know, I think everybody. If we did a questionnaire and said if there was something you could do to make a difference, I think everybody would say yes. Depending on how much time or whatever. I mean, and maybe a lot of folks would say, well, what would I do? I don't think I could make a difference. And and I'm here to tell you that you can make a difference. And this is what I want to talk about this morning. How can you? Maybe you're not an addict, maybe you're not an alcoholic, and in recovery or otherwise. And maybe you don't even have somebody close in your family that is, but still you're concerned. Um, it's an issue. It's a big issue. I mean, the price of addiction and alcoholism on our society is phenomenal, just unbelievable. I was talking to a young man this morning who's, pulling a shopping cart um, from Calgary to Edmonton to bring awareness to um, homelessness, much of it around addiction, to men's rights and problems in his community, mostly in the Indigenous community around, and a lot of that, is around addiction. And he has another cause. It's um, bare necessities. He wants to make sure that people have, uh, their bare needs met if they're coming out of a institution and going to a treatment center, if they're coming out of a detox and going to a treatment center or whatever, coming out of a treatment center and nowhere to go. So he's really doing something in a big way. He's committed to a cause, and but the cost of that, he talked about 4 treatment centers or facilities that he was in his path. Huge cost to society, especially when people go to a treatment center and they spend 14 weeks there, and then they get out and they go back out drinking or using. Unbelievable costs. So we're all affected. There's no question we're all affected, and I think that we all want to. We would all like to make a difference with that. And I have some suggestions. I do. I have some suggestions. I mean, there's the practical stuff. Of course, if you're in recovery, you're committed already to helping others. I mean, that's part of the deal. It's being wisely selfish, I call it. Um, I had a teacher years ago that had his mantra was he gave and gave and gave until he got it all. And we learn really, early in recovery, if we're in recovery, that the part of the deal is that we have to give this away. It, and and that's making a difference. But the problem is huge. So I want to compare it just for a second to what we perceive, that we have a huge problem around the environment. And even in those who don't believe that there's a problem with the environment are making a difference. They're consciously or unconsciously being careful with plastic. They're being careful with, everybody is being more conscious around the environment because there's a ton of, we're being inundated with information about how can we be part of the solution, right? And but with addiction and alcoholism, there isn't a lot of what can I do to be part of the solution. And I think that part of the solution is to become aware of what addiction is. Um, a quick story: I did a post the other day about addiction in the family, and it kind of went viral on one of the groups that I posted it in. It's actually a group of people that's around Jungian psychology, and so it kind of went viral there, and a lot of comments, like 150 comments maybe, and amazing that the ignorance. I mean, the literal, they just don't know about addiction. That addiction is you know not a choice for many people. They believe that anybody can choose not to be addicted. It was like, are you kidding? Where have they been hiding? To miss that there's a physical part to addiction that is beyond our control. I mean, everybody knows an addict or an alcoholic who's extremely intelligent. Many people know extremely intelligent addicts and alcoholics. Some that are smart people. And yet, when it comes to this, they lose all sense of they can't. They're lost. And if you ask an addict and alcoholic who said to you, "My God, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm never going to drink again. I'm never going to use again," and they do 2 weeks later, or a week later, or 2 days later, and you say, "What happened?" They'll say, "I don't know. I just don't know. Crazy thought came and I was gone." And so um, so I would call that mental illness. And is that a disease? Mental illness a disease? I think that we have agreed, universally that it is. And so education. That's what I'm suggesting, that if you want to make a difference, become schooled. Now, if you don't read, that's okay. And there's a lot of people who don't read or read very little. You can go to YouTube and just type in addiction recovery, and you will get endless, talks on addiction and recovery. Or go to YouTube and listen to, Russell Brand has done some great stuff on addiction and recovery. Dr. David Hawkins has done some great stuff on addiction recovery. What I'm going to do is, on my Facebook page here, I'm going to start a book list. So I want from you, do you have any books to suggest? What are your thoughts on addiction recovery, and any sources that we can put on here so the people who want to become educated, and I think that to affect change, to be part of the solution for, a whole, like millions of people who suffer from addiction, and kids that are 12 and 15 years old today are going to be full on addicts in a year or 2 years or 3 years. And so, I mean, they're just coming. It's an endless line of people coming. So where do we start the education? Maybe it begins in the schools, but we've got to get it into the mainstream so that it's not just bad kids that are turning to drugs and alcohol, you know, and because often that was the case. That's in the school system. I mean, the poor school teacher doesn't know what to do with, uh, with the kid that's acting out and doing drugs and that kind of stuff. And it's different when I think it's different, maybe not. But when I was a kid, I mean, we'd go to class doing acid. I know, crazy, but we did, and but I don't know, it was more like an adventure then. Maybe it still is, you know, but it got way past me. I couldn't, eventually, I didn't know that I was an alcoholic and an addict. I just had found a solution to my pain, and so anyway, education. That's all I'm going to talk about today. I mean, just you tell me what you think. Any books? Give me a book list. I'm looking for your suggestions on books and sources. You know, yeah, but it's an education. It's not. We can't invent a virus, not a virus, a vaccine. Sorry, for this epidemic of and it is an epidemic of addiction. And we're concerned because the opioid addiction is killing people, right? We know that. We're concerned. We're like, holy shit, too many people are dying, and it kind of scares everybody. And not only are people who are opiate addicts dying, but people who are casual cocaine users on the weekends are finding opiates, fentanyl in their cocaine and dying. So just your neighbor down the street who has a regular job and a life is, it's happening a lot. I've talked to people in EMS, and as many, do you think that the whole thing is happening just to street people or to people at the lower end of the addiction world. But no, it's not. It's happening in the suburbs, and that people are dying. Um, just a couple of weeks ago, three young people in Drumheller together, all three of them together, passed away. It's tragic, and not are not um, hardcore addicts. These are just you know casual users, and boom, they're gone just like that. And so that scares people, right? That and so I think we need to get a little scared. I think we need to think, okay, what are we going to do about this? And so you ask yourself the question: how informed are you on the subject of addiction and recovery? How informed are you? If you want to become more informed, if you're interested in just awareness brings light, brings awareness, brings compassion. you know the Some of the responses on that post that I did on in Facebook recently, and the page that's dedicated to the Jungian people, was it was, I can't believe how, like like a sense of actual not caring, to hell with the addicts kind of a caring. But we're all paying a price for this, all of us. It isn't, we're all connected. So if in North America, not to mention the rest of the world, but in North America, thousands and thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people suffer from addiction, and then millions and millions of people around them are paying the price, either emotionally, financially, for the addicts. So it's all of our problem. It's not just the addict's problem, or even just their family's problem. It's all of it. So that's my message today: education, awareness about addiction, about various recovery programs. What works. There's no easy pill. There's no easy solution. Maybe that's why we look away, because we're like, oh Jesus, what are we going to do with that? And we don't know. So I'm urging you to become aware. You know, Even if you're a therapist or a social worker and you think go deeper, go deeper, because I want to tell you that most addicts and alcoholics, um, won't come and share their hearts. Where the dis-ease seems to be with you, unless you're really, really aware of the disease, and and you've been doing your own work. So anyway, that's it. Um, so I'm just going to read. I read every day from this little book, the 24-hour day book, and this thing I'm doing started out with me just reading this some time ago, like it was March the 9th. I started reading this in May and last year, and it's just kind of evolved to this thing where we're now talking about addiction in the family and recovery in the family, and it's just evolved a bit, and um, the audience has grown. People have watched, as I've read this every day, and I thank you for coming. I thank you for joining my YouTube channel. You know, Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your notes and your comments, and a lot of people who are really concerned, especially about their families. I had a lady message me the other day, and her twin brother is addicted to opiates. She's scared to death. You know, um, I mean, she needs to study the subject, because to become part of the solution with him. And we this is not just it's all of our situation. It's all of our opportunity to grow in awareness. Okay, March the 9th. It says, thought for the day. This book was written in 1954 by one of the early members in the 12-step world. And 12 steps are based primarily, the main purpose of the book is to bring us to a spiritual awakening, to a consciousness of the presence of a higher power, of God as we understand him. um, and a lot of the work that I do is help guys that are looking at this get past the God business, because a lot of times they have so much prejudice and so much anger around what they call organized religion, and we're not talking about organized religion here. We're talking about, a personal relationship with the moment, with consciousness, with God, with the universal intelligence, with, and call it what you want, but it 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 it's not a belief. It actually is a knowingness, you know. So interesting. Back to Jung just for a second. They asked Jung years ago if he believed in God, and he said, "Well, no, I don't believe in God. I know God. I have that experience." He had moved past the intellect, and the intellect is what keeps us from having the experience. Ego, uh, wants to understand. So a lot of the work I do is to help people get past this need to know or understand, um, so that they can experience this oneness that's here. Okay, March 9th. Uh, if we had absolute faith in the power of God to keep us from drinking, and if we turned our drink problem entirely over to God without reservation, we wouldn't have to do anything more about it. We'd be free from drink once and for all. But since our faith is apt to be weak, we have to strengthen and build up this faith. We do this in several ways. One way is by going to meetings, yes, listening to others, yeah, and listen to others tell how they found all the strength they need to overcome drink. Yes. Another way, of course, is helping others, being leading the way, pointing the light. Is my faith being strengthened by this personal witness of other alcoholics? That's the thought for the day. Meditation for the day. It is the quality of my life that determines its value. In order to judge the value of a man's life, we must set up a standard. The most valuable life is one of honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. All men's lives must be judged by this standard in order to determine their value to the world. All men's lives must be judged by this standard in order to determine their value to the world. By this standard, most of the so-called heroes of history were not great men. What shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and loses his soul? Interesting read. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may be honest, pure, unselfish, and loving. I pray that I may make the quality of my life good by these standards. Yeah, I like that. Who doesn't want to be honest, pure, unselfish, and loving? Who amongst us wouldn't want that? Okay, so we're going to do what I do here every day, which is a real short sit. You know, my one of the pieces in my recipe for connection with that universal intelligence is to learn to sit for even 3 minutes. That's all we're going to do this morning is 3 or 4 minutes. I'd like you to sit with me. So just, we're just going to close our eyes, sit. Some people call it meditation. I don't want to confuse you, right? Right? Um, some people say, "Oh, I don't know how to meditate. I can't keep my thoughts. My mind is too busy." All right, so we're not going to call it meditation. We're going to call it sitting, and we're just going to close our eyes for a minute. Just close your eyes. One of the ways to come into the space, into this moment, into now, is to check in with the body. So that's what we're going to do for just a minute. It's going to bring your attention, your focus, your awareness into your body, into your feet. Just bring your, focus just for a minute into your feet, into your ankles. We're going to work our way up into your calves, to your knees. Just be there into your body. When we're here, they're focused in our body. We're present into our thighs, into our hips, into our butt, wherever it happens to be sitting. to our bellies. Um, just feel it. Bring your attention into your belly, into your back, lower back, to your spine, to your middle back, into your spine all the way up from the very bottom. Bring your attention and just bring it up your spine, all the way up, past your shoulders, into your neck, right into the back of your head. Now your attention is in your skull. Just feel in there. For a minute, just bring your attention to the front of your face, your skull, your forehead. And I like to just imagine that spot right in the middle of your forehead, just above your eyebrows, where if you had a third eye, that's where it would be. Just bring your attention right there. And then in your face, your nose, and your lips, your tongue, just bring your attention to your jaw, let it drop a little, and to your neck, throat, to your chest, and your breath, into your lungs, heart. Let's bring our attention into our hands for a minute. Both hands, our wrists, our forearms, our elbows, upper arms, shoulders again. And then just back to the breath. Now you're here. We're now in this moment. If thoughts come, just watch them. Be gentle with them. Just tell them that you'll be back in a minute. Let them go gently. Remember, you're not your thoughts. You can watch them. If you're watching your thoughts, for sure you're not your thoughts. Okay. Just come back when you're ready, or don't come back at all. Just stay in this meditation for as long as you want. Get used to this space so you can drop into here anytime. Always have access to this. We learn to be still. Okay, love you guys. Thank you. Remember, the message today was let's create awareness around the disease of addiction and alcoholism and the solution. Let's look at solutions. But awareness, all of us with awareness, is part of the solution. We can all be more loving and compassionate and available for people who suffer with the pain of addiction if we're aware of it and what it is. Awareness will destroy the stigma love you guys.